Episode of Ian is a Weirdo. So before I get to work on my pillow, I wanted to show you where I was at with the first commission top. So I have included all of the um, boning that I made in its casing. So there's two on each side, so that when you go to lace up back, there's some support for the lacing and it is less likely to pull through your stitches and break if someone pulls it really tight. And the additional boning is so that it doesn't apply too much additional pressure, hopefully, on the rest of the strap that goes around. In this little portion between the inner boning, I guess, and then the end of the bra, I'm gonna do some surface crochet with the rainbow colors, so that will be peeking through. But this is gonna remain the kind of nude color or whatever. Let me kind of get this set up as usual. This is not my normal setup, but I wanted to give it a try. I said I would do something different, but um, forgot what it was, or try to like figure out how to have my computer and and my and my phone on, but I haven't spent any time doing that because my sleep has been so winky wonky. So this is what it looks like. Again, lots of ends to tie in, and not lots, like six. And then just doing the bottom and then the fringe. So this top is basically done. Just a kind of just some minor things, including the fringe. So that should be relatively fast on this. So I'm gonna get to work on the pillow because that is the one that I need to make sure I'm done, and also we got to make sure we have time for the zipper inclusion, and that's something that I want to take my time on because that needs to be really secure. So I'm gonna put all the stuff aside that might be in my way a little bit, and I'm gonna go grab everything I need for that. I'm gonna try to do the microphone thing and see if what I was doing before was the reason I was having my problems. So bear with me as I try to get the technical stuff set up, and hopefully we can get this done today or soon. I guess the microphone thing can't work if I'm charging my phone. Wait, I think it can. Sorry. 1 second. How's everyone doing this morning or whatever time it is for you? So let me turn this mic on. Hopefully the audio is okay. If it's not, take it up with your local representative because I ain't got time for all that bullshit. Okay. Let me get the background yarn color out of the way. That's going to just kind of move around as I have to flip this thing around and around and around, but this is what it is, right? Okay, so I'm working on the O letter. Okay, and then kind of move this around just like this. Because I'm at the very end of it, I'm gonna take this top of the pillow and fold it. Shouldn't need any pins to hold it just like that for right now. If you do type something in the chat and I don't reply to it right away, it's not right in front of my face. So if I don't see it or reply to it right away, I will shortly. Just takes me a bit because it's not right there. Okay, so the end of this yarn is already being quite of a pain in the ass. What I'm gonna do, follow it up like that. Stick it with a stitch marker. Now, the only reason this stitch marker is here is because I used it to kind of graph out the different row heights, because I've kind of got that figured out with my other letters starting to form. It's not really necessary, so I can even just put it around the this one goes right here. Now I'm kind of twisting my wrists in ways that are a little bit uncomfortable, but that's okay. And you might be like, Ian, why are you on so early? This is very unusual for you. And you would be correct. I'm not an early morning person. However, due to my sleep schedule being all shifted and wonky, actually, I don't want to go into this one. If I'm ending this, like I'm ending the other ones. So, taking that here. So I woke up at like 12:30, and I've been up since. And I'm not happy about that either. So, something we can agree on. Okay, so there's the L, spreading the end. Make sure it's not too melted to pull through. If it's super hot and you try to pull it through, it's just going to attach to some of that yarn, which is not what we want. That's going to be the O, and we're going to be able to clean that up. Let's take some of this scrap yarn out that has been guiding us. So this is where I'm going to use a non-furls, just kind of metal hook to really, okay, so that's the wrong end. Okay. Who knows what the hell's going on with this? I guess this is the end of something. Because this is, okay, where's the C? Because this is the beginning of the question mark. Oh, did I make the C like way over here? There's a big space between the O? Guess so. Maybe I put the O too close. That sounds about right about what I did. So I'm going to undo this letter. Because I kind of did the bare minimum of marking my words in this version, I think it's harder for me to just like identify where I wanted to go with it. So I started here and I gave it like a 3-space gap. But let's just, if I move it over 1, I think that that's going to be good. So let's just plan on having it come in here. Well, so actually, no, that's the A. So that should have been okay. So the placement was actually correct, but that's okay. Just do it all over again. Not a big deal. Wait, what am I doing? That's that way. That was an easy move. Okay, we're getting back on track, people. Okay, I'm gonna go around the other way. Okay, I'm gonna shift it over here. And we're gonna go in up top. Just up top. I really just have to, hope that it looks okay. And then we're gonna shift it the other way. Okay, kind of do it catty corner-ish, so hopefully I can get both sides in without too much of a dilemma. Let's square up this side a little bit so that I can fit the C just fine. Nothing step over, that's what I do. Why did I go all the way down there? Did not need to do that. And then one more. Okay, and then I'm just gonna pull that through. I think the first attempt looked better, but that's okay. We'll get the picture. Okay. And then now for the C. Now, I'm sure that there's yarn up there, but I can't really see it from this vantage. So I've got to I might have pulled out the yarn that I wanted to have here. So I'm gonna try to go for the spot right under, let's see, so those, make sure I have the same height. So those did not go into the same line as the orange, they went under it. So this is where I'll be pulling in my next color. How's everyone's morning going so far? Did you sleep more than me, which would be about 4 hours? If you did, let me know. I would love to hear about people who are sleeping well, so I can live vicariously through you. Granted, 4 hours is more than the 0 hours I got the other day, so I'm happy for that. And to those of you asking, why is he mentioning sleep like all the freaking time? Well, as I've mentioned before, sleep is important for all humans to be functioning generally, but for bipolar folks, sleep is a really, really big thing because it can be an earlier or an early warning sign of incoming mood changes, as well as those alongside other changes like appetite changes, hygiene changes, things they call ADLs, activities of daily living. And so if you're not able to do those, or they get kind of off track, it starts to kind of hint at something potentially else going on. And so, what your doctor will often have you do, which I'm in kind of a weird doctor and and therapist limbo right now, which really, really sucks as a place to be. Um, then you then you have to kind of check in with your doctor more, make sure your meds are right, potentially have to do new meds. They think something is or could be about to happen. It looks like it went into the one next to it, doesn't it? It's so hard to tell. Yeah, because that's like right there. But then this one, yeah, I think I went to the wrong. So you would, be communicating this with your care team and be like, hey, something isn't looking and or feeling right. And then you kind of make a game plan going forward, about how you're going to handle a situation if it crops up. So these can be kind of nerve-wracking times for people with bipolar because obviously they would rather avoid things happening. So that's why I mention it so much. It's just because it's like, oh, well, it's not necessarily just like the sleep itself, but the things that sleep can impact. And I just don't really want to deal with that. I mean, I never really want to, it'd be nice to just be able to have consistent moods all the time, but not really my reality. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna share a picture in Army of Weirdos later, and it is like so hilarious. I can't even handle it. Because it says like, oh, what when people search this, uh, like this is the thing that like gets people in the door of your channel when they search this. I get like the analytics of my channel, and boy, howdy, were they hilarious. Because I would not say that they are the pinnacles of my channel in most of them. I can't. I screenshotted it. I'm sure I could find it on my computer if I wanted to look, but I don't know how to find like the previous recaps. So I'll have to post that in Army of Weirdos. Hopefully, you get a giggle out of it like I did. Okay, so now we have the L, the O, the C, and now we're going for the A. So I'm going to start the A very similar to the C, where I start kind of right here, and then I circle around, just like I have in previous A's. And then the question mark, I want to be pretty noticeable and you know type of thing. So let's go on right. Looks like it starts here. Again, there's no real reason why I can't go there. So again, trying to move this in a place where it's a little bit more comfortable for my wrist. Maybe I should take these stabby little snoopies, out of my way a bit, but sometimes you gotta live and learn. So I'm going to take this piece of thread out of my way. Oops. Gonna toss some things at this point. Like I just want to get things done and time to keep running back scraps, figuring out what are scraps or what are things I want to keep. So don't judge me if I don't keep certain scraps above others. It's just about getting this done. It's gonna be so nice when this is done. Okay, and then I'm going to curve the pillow kind of in the opposite direction so I can get the bottom of the A. I'm going to take, I don't think I'm going to take that one out because I want to have that little stick of the A be apparent as it's been before. And then that should be good for that. Now, actually, you know what I could do? I could just go straight into the stick for this and see how that works out. If it doesn't work, then that's okay too. Okay, apparently I just undid that switch. Oopsies. Gosh, what is happening here? Okay. I'm gonna flip this so we can see a little bit better because I'm keep doing the same thing and getting the same result, and that's not what I want. Okay, so I have like a little bit of that yarn over kind of sticking out over here. So that could be part of the stem. But it's not lined up with the edge of the beginning of the A. Yeah, I don't feel like you get to see the bottom of the A at all with what I did. Okay, let's attempt again. should have gone over further with the other part of the A, but maybe I can fix that as I go up. Don't I sound so confident in what I'm doing? Go ahead and wrap this around so it pulls from this side and also kind of gets a little tug. So yeah, that I don't think this little piece at the bottom really is coming together like it did in my dreams and hopes, but it's yeah, that's not good. I think I need to go down one more. I think that's the problem, is that I'm not going down far enough. So this right here. And then we're gonna put this here. Other direction, we get more space between the letter and their stitches. Flip it back. Yeah. We can blame it on the coffee and my brain not operating because of the lack of sleep, but I don't know if that's a justifiable cause anymore. How many times do I have to do this and experience the same results? Okay. Now this is a little lower than the rest of the letters, but I'm willing to overlook that for now if it makes it look good, which, TBD. Yeah, I'm totally making this up as I go. In case you were like, wow, really looks like Ian knows what he's doing. I've definitely moved into a little bit of where I wanted the question mark to start. I'm not thrilled about, but as long as you can tell this is an A. Now, in some spots here, there's more texture, but I think that is fine, and hopefully, maybe we can get something else right here. I'm gonna actually go back in and just Mm. I don't want that in there like that. I think once I finish this by pulling this loop through and cutting it, I think I can kind of sew it in a way that looks decent. If not, we'll just rip it out and try it again. You get to a point in a project where, like, due to time and also the effort that you're willing to put in, you're just like, you know what, we're gonna try to make it work. But we're gonna have to wait to see when when that moment strikes, because I can potentially fold it in and sew it at the same point so that the whole kind of stem of the A is larger and that would cover it up. Okie dokie, so let's get this freaking so all of this white yarn in the A connects directly to the question mark. So there's my just going underneath, removing that guide. I'll try not to be too harsh on the question mark. Now, any spots where the question mark is. Oh, I have alarms. What's happening? Sorry about that. Okay, so. It's like you're probably asleep right now. Joke's on you, bitch. No, I'm not. Okay, so that just pulled through. Shiny yarn. Okay, so there should be a little white piece right here. So I'm just pulling that up. Okay, and now let's focus on the question mark. We want this to look as good as possible. Sometimes that's not always possible. Did I close the door? Okay. Came in. I have to put that up, probably. You're like, I don't care. Just finish the fucking pillow. So because the two sides are slightly different sizes, I'm really gonna have to think about how I want to line them up. And then also because I'm applying it with acrylic yarn, I'm gonna think about the color of the acrylic yarn, and how I'm gonna attach it so that it's nice and sturdy, and it's not gonna put too much tug on the more delicate yarn of the chenille. The blanket's a little sturdier, but still don't want to, do too much. Little nicotine, little coffee. If you like my cup, you can see my cup. Can't tip it towards you. But it says live, love, or live, laugh, toaster baths, and has a skeleton in a bathtub. It is a very cool cup. I got it on Temu. I had a lot of Halloween cups at my last place. Everything's in North Carolina right now, so if I see anyone there, I already planned if I see anyone there that were mine before that I just can't live without, I'll bring some back. Otherwise, starting a new cup collection, mug collection isn't a big deal. and kind of be like a nice little thing that I have here that I like know that I love. If you collect anything like that, I'd love to hear what kind of stuff you enjoy. Like, where's my hook? There it is. Okay. So next we're going up to here. And I want this to be fairly curvy and not very locky. So I'm going to be doing a lot more turns and not necessarily things in between stitches, but I won't be in the same row or column for as long as I normally would, just to kind of give the effect of kind of like that flow and arch that I want. I'm going to flip this to the outside. Okay, come on. Okay. Try it again. There we go. Okay, so this would be straight down if I wanted to have kind of more cutoff. But I'm going to go one more out. However, I'm going to switch the side that the yarn comes in so it's not as much of a curve. And then I'm going to switch back to the outside of the yarn. Let me know what time it is wherever you are. I know it is 7 something, 7:20 here. So still pretty early in the day. Very early if you're me and you like to sleep until pretty much, the day is over. But that's what it is sometimes. Let me go straight across here. Now for this, I've marked where I want the end of the question, the top of the piece of the question mark to be, and then also where I want the dot of the question mark to be. And I think that instead of cutting a separate piece for both, I'm going to just cut a longer tail, so that I can use the same yarn for the question mark to secure it a little bit more, and then it's just one less end I have to worry about, hopefully. But I do want to, instead of just doing I think I'm probably going to do something a little bit bulkier for the end of the question mark, rather than, it's not very centrally located, but that's okay. Rather than just putting, one or two stitches down, I think I want to do something a little wider, whether that's, two rows together or some kind of like bubbly type number. Where's my lighter? There it is. It blends in almost perfectly with the yarn. One's just metallic. Okay, so I'm going to pull that through there. My cat is doing his thing. And then I'm going to want to keep that right there. This I'm going to pull through. No, I had it stitched down, but that's when, before I pulled the A down as far as I did. So I feel like I can actually get away with doing maybe one more down and giving it a little space. But first I need to pull this through, so let's do that first. First steps first, right? Okay, so just trying to think. I yarn over and just go through the same couple of loops a couple of times. I'll effectively be able to create a cluster stitch. So that's a 3 cluster. I'm not yarning over, just going back in. I don't want to be too big that it's not gonna, I can't make it lie flat. Okay, pull two through, and I meant to pull just one through. So it can be a little difficult to do this period, but also especially with this type of yarn. So let's try to frog it very, very gently, and then try to do this again, but not get caught up on the wrong piece of yarn. I think the 5 was too big. So when we have 4 pieces of yarn on our hook, we'll create that shape. That's a little too loose, but let's see how it works. I think because this end wants to come through. I'm just going to individually pull these over because I can't really see the stitch I'm pulling. So that's one way to do it. You do get this yarn over piece that adds some bulk. I'm not quite loving the way that looks. So again, we're going to gently frog it. We don't want to overwork this yarn. Just want it to look nice and neat. I'm doing a little bit less now. I still keep on kind of pulling out that first loop too big, and so it creates kind of a shape that I'm not as interested in. I can't pull this down, I can't pull it up. I could pull it sideways, but it doesn't really match the rest of it. I could, in theory, pull it into the same hole that it came from. That wouldn't be too bad. But it kind of comes undone pretty quickly. So let's pull this through. I could actually just make some single crochets kind of on top of each other. Okay. Doing wrist gymnastics here. Like, how do I do a single crochet or like a slip stitch? Okay, so that's 3 slip stitches kind of right on top of each other. And I think, sorry, let's miss that alarm. I think that looks nice. It has that extra bulk. I don't feel like it needs anything additional. Plus, I can pull it through and make it look nice and neat. Let me go through one of those slip stitches just to kind of reinforce it, holding down the rest of it. Pop that back up. Okay, so let's kind of rearrange the letters so that we can read them a little bit easier. I'm going to be using my clover hook and this is getting increasingly more annoying to have to reposition that yarn over space, but all be worth it in the end, right? Right. Someone please say yes. Please say yes. Everything that you're doing is totally worth it and will end up looking so good. Your sister will undeniably love it. Someone can just give me that assurance. That would be super duper. You don't want to, that's okay. Everyone's gotta have haters. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, I think she'll love it regardless. Honestly, this could look like dog shit, and she would be sweet about it. She's a very sweet person. She's still got it too. Like she's related to me. Like don't get it twisted. But she'd be sweet to me about it. That the gesture is not forgotten on someone like my sister. And you know, I don't talk about her. I don't talk about her fiance very much, but he's a super nice guy. Uh, they met doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. That's something my sister is super passionate about. It she hasn't been doing it for, let's see, she's been doing it for, I think at this point 4 or 5 years. And I think it's one of the things that really got her out of one of her really dark times. Because my sister started started college in 2019, fall of 2019, and she started in like Wilmington, North Carolina. And so within the first week of school, they got hit by a massive hurricane. And like usually Wilmington's up for this. Wilmington's game. They're like, yeah, we can handle that. No big deal. But like this was massive, and like so school was out for like a month, and so they started a little bit of online schooling, but most of the classes were just completely like, we don't have anything for you. And this was before online learning was as evolved as it is now. And then, 2020 happened, and she had to go through more online classes. And for a lot of people, that's just not how they learn. Like, that's not how they can learn easily. And it was a real struggle for her. So, in the effort to meet people and have a social life and things like that, because we're not from that place in North Carolina. My parents have a beach house there, but like we don't really know anybody there. Um, so uh, so when masks and things and restrictions were kind of a little lightened, she started doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Um, Met her first boyfriend in the area through Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and then later met this guy after she broke up with the first guy. It wasn't like an immediate trade off or anything, but so she met this guy, and he's super nice. He's more quiet around me than he is around like other members of my family, but um, I don't take that as like a slight or anything. I just like like he's just like I think he's just more like I don't know. My family is kind of like a fighting ring of personalities, and I think my personality function in my family is so often strange looking. I don't know how to make that make sense. Like when you're coming into my family, like jokes are flying. Like sometimes they're a little harsh, but it's like all meant with love. And so, but my jokes are like really off the wall. And and so I think he's always been kind of like, I don't know what's gonna come out of Ian's mouth next, which that joined the fucking club. Um, but I mean, he's a super nice guy. He treats her really well, as far as I know. They have a lot of respect for each other. They give each other a lot of room to grow, and um, of the people she's been with, I think that you know, this guy is such a good fit for her and such a good guy in general that like she never needed my acceptance or approval for any relationship or matrimony or anything. Like I'm not that sibling. Um but uh but she definitely gets it from me. She gets my approval for this because he's a great guy. She seems happy. He seems to kind of balance her out, and she does the same for him. And I think it seems like a positive relationship. Honestly, if they could adopt all the animals in the world other than cats, they would. And it's not that they don't like cats. It's just like um, they have so many dogs or so much energy that like they had a pig for a little bit of time, which that was something I still kind of can't talk about because it was crazy. But they would have horses, like they would have like they would run a dog charity. Like that's like those are the type of people that they are. Like they love animals, and they both my sister definitely inherited the I want to adopt all the animals quality from my mom. Like my mom has literally brought like possums with like broken legs in the house and like baby possums, and we're like, what if that thing gets better overnight and like it's not in a cage and it just gets out? And my mom's like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. We're like, what the fuck? But so my mom's a big animal lover and wants to adopt all the animals. And my sister's the same way, and just like a big, huge heart like that. And this guy like supports that, and that's awesome for her. And I feel like he actually like sees my sister for who she is, and as a sibling, like I couldn't ask for anything better for my sibling than someone who truly appreciates her, um, quirks and all. No, thank you for the cheap viewers or whatever you're offering. Always weird. Um, but yeah, having someone recognize that my sister is this really beautiful person, inside and out, and deserves to be treated super well, uh, is something that I'm so thankful for, that she's been able to find. I'm gonna undo this O a little bit because it's not closing up the way I want it to. I have a little bit of extra. Um, so yeah, they're doing well. They've been together for a while. Sorry about that alarm. I'm gonna have other alarms. I'm gonna try to turn off. Usually, when I set alarms for myself to wake up, I try to set like a ton, um, because otherwise I don't wake up. And even still, most of the time I don't wake up. So, whoops. But yeah, so I'm super happy for this. I haven't met anyone from his family. I think she's only met his mom, maybe. She's heard about, a lot of them, but hasn't personally met um, a lot of them. So I think that this will be fun to join the families. I think the joining of families is always one of the most beautiful parts, as long as it's like no drama. Because weddings and funerals can bring drama, sometimes, but it seems like they're going to be a good fix. They are a good fit. They like to party, and walkers like to party, so that should be interesting. Which means I'm probably going to be turning in very early because I'm gonna try to get the hell out of there because I'm not gonna get caught up in that bullshit because that's just not me. I mean, I'm not against people having fun. I gotta take care of myself too. So so I think that okay, let me see how I want to do this. I think I want to bring this whole moment right into here. And then I'm gonna take this. And can't tell if I wanted to go here, right above, or it's kind of sloppy. Make sure that stitch is tight enough. I have some creative additions. But yeah, I think that they're a good fit. They keep each other happy, and they have mutual, love of, being active, adopting and taking care of animals, and then also they encourage each other with each other's dreams, and all of those things I think make for really great partnerships. Um, so I'm just super happy for my sister. She deserves all the happiness in the world, and the fact that he provides a lot of that happiness, if not all of it, right now. I just that's all I want for my sister. Also recognizing there might be a time that I need to get the fuck out. So not for my sister's sake, but just for too much family sake. There is such a thing for some people, and sometimes I am those people. I think that's a lot of what happens, growing up. It's just like, you kind of realize that you got to do things to take care of yourself too, and that's part of it. So now I am going to look at the whole pillow. I'm going to make sure there's not any stitch markers left in the front, and then I'm going to flip it inside out and start tying ends together. Now, I'm a little nervous about this part because usually when I tie chenille together, I do that whole like stripping it of the fuzz of the ends, then tying it together after it really not working the way I wanted it to last time. Um, I'm not quite sure. Also, I might go back in with the eye shape on the other side and fix and make a little change to that because I just don't like how the eye just disappears. And then I can work on it on the outside and then make it on the inside. But I think it's a little askew just based on how it's sitting. But this is how it looks. Again, it's kind of you know it's there's a lot more space on this side than this side. I tried to fix that, but I don't think I did a great job at it. But it's you can read it. Um, I could put another question mark right beside this if I really feel like it, but I don't right now. It's low priority compared to getting that zipper on. So um, everything looks. Um, you can read it and see what it says. So so I'm gonna put the purple away slightly. The pink, slate pink, is still attached, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna modify the shape right here. I did change it in the pattern. Also, I hope you can hear me. I do. But I don't know. I'm gonna get the red that I used for the pink. So, what I think I'm gonna do is really just kind of come in. So I made a change, kind of, I think it was when I had done the whole thing, but I was unhappy with part of what was happening with the bee right here. So what I did is I just pulled up the yarn, did a double crochet, and entered it in the same spot. So it was basically like making a double crochet into a double crochet cluster. And I think I'm going to basically do something similar in this spot. However, because they're single crochets and single crochet clusters don't really make sense in my brain hole. I'm going to have to be a little bit more creative. Now I can just adjust it and make it different, but let me see if I can find my pattern that I've written and see what see how I wrote it on my charts. Okay, so let's see. So I had 2 single crochets in the first stitch, and then I just did 1 in the next. But I had skipped. I had changed it, so I skipped this one. So there's a deficit in this row, and then there's 2 in this row. So let's see how well that works. So I'm going to go in with the same red that I used on the other side. Now this, I also use a 6.5 millimeter hook. Now this is going to be, oh, I thought I disabled all of them. Apologies. Okay, so this is going to be a little weird just because of how they sit, but if I just take that first stitch and apply another single crochet, so it's actually better if I take a slip knot through it rather than pulling a loop through. Slip knot, pull that through. Oh wait, now I'm on the other side though. If brain just stops working after a while. But if I go, well, okay, so I have a slip knot, right? Try not to pull the knot itself through, and then go into here, pull my working yarn, out, just like that, and I can't do a yarn over. So I could just do a slip stitch. Somebody really didn't think this through, and that somebody is me. So here's another option. What I can do is I can chain 2 and do a slip stitch into it. I don't really like that either. That's gonna give me, I'm gonna have something on the way back. But then it's all in the same place, and then I'll have to hand stitch it in. It's not a big deal, but not my ideal situation. That's okay. You know, a lot of this isn't my ideal situation, but here we are, right? Okay, so I did my slip knot, I chained 2. I'm gonna go in and create a single crochet. Honestly, I could just do slip stitches because it's going to be wider than what I said it would be. Leave a long-ish tail. Maybe like 6 to 8 inches. And fuzz everywhere. Granite. So first I'm going to tie these two together just like gently. Add a little bit of, I don't know, something. Then one end is going here. Oh, not fucking drag scissors over this shit. This took so long. Oh my gosh, I would lose my mind. I'd be like, you're not getting a present. My presence is a present. You're welcome. And then here I'm going to go through kind of the top of this, pull this through. So it's going to kind of pull this a little tighter. Sometimes you gotta get a little creative with things. And that's what I'm trying right now. It's just being a little creative with it. Go back to the chat just in case I have any more any bugs there. Oh. Okay, so to pull that through. So yeah, that eye dot looks a lot better. It's not what the pattern calls for right now, but hopefully with my changes to what I wrote, people making this will be able to have it look a lot cleaner. I also changed up a lot of the tops of the letters, so things, I don't know if you can see it very well, but in the top of the A, how this is kind of spiky up at the top, that's because these double crochets were not done in, or these single crochets that are right above it were done in the back loop only, whereas if they were done in the front loop only, then they would be a lot more flat. So I'm going to try that kind of notation and see if that gives a better look. I'm really interested to see how this tests and if this looks decent. I really want to make a pattern that, not only like it's not just about like being able to sell the pattern, it's also about like, did I make something that actually like works and helps people and they can do stuff and adjust it? That's fun too. I had a lot of fun writing it, and I think the time crunch actually did me a service by making it, more of a okay, I gotta get this shit done. I don't have any choice type thing. And not in a way of like, ugh, I have to do something for my sister, but in a way of like, I can't fiddle faddle around. And then I got 2 orders in of a top that I don't normally do. Luckily, I had almost all the yarn. I just needed that. Richer, like Kelly green rather than the spring green that I had. So that was really the only thing that I didn't have. Now acquiring those colors for the other commission I had, that was a pain in the ass, but luckily it's not something that I had to repeat. Getting all of those colors and going to Michael's, I could find something that worked at Walmart. So going in to the bottom of that little dot of the eye with one side, and then going through the top of the A. Just gonna pinch that shape a little bit. Inside. We're going to tie these as well so they're nice and tight and secure, hopefully. And I'm taking that yarn here and just pulling that nice and tight so that looks like that. So for any spots that are open, like the E's aren't perfect, but I think with the pattern I wrote that this is just kind of how they're going to look. I did set it up where any of this, I think I set up so that any of the spots that kind of look like they're, coming up a little bit into the row above it, and the colors getting a little twisted, or however I want to describe it. Those are these in the pen basket I have right here. I think those are good enough, at least to start. I think pattern testing is really gonna change this a lot. I wish I could pattern test this back and get some feedback on how to make that, but I can maybe do a mosaic pillow with the phrase and like 4-weight yarn and have that tested. But I just didn't have time to do 2 pillows with all of that. Okay, so before I forget, I'm gonna tie. Sorry, again, here's another. Okay, hold on 1 second. The Etsy notifications, whether it be Etsy like as a consumer, as a buyer, as someone who like all of those notifications just look the same. So I'm like, did I get another order? And then it's like, here's some new trends of like don't you want a custom hat? And I'm like, no. I probably should just take those notifications off. But like sometimes the stores I like have good sales, so I keep them on. Tend to keep them on. Keeping this knot tight, and then doing a couple rows or a couple ties of that. I feel like I could melt it, but that sketches me out a lot. Now this one was just pulled through. Does have the end singed. This one has the end singed. The ends of all of these are singed. So, actually, not all of them. Let me just go down the line and make sure everything's nice and melted. The blanket yarn is a little less likely to fray, but still don't want to miss anything and have that be the reason this doesn't work. Granted, like I've said, the probability that this gets eaten within seconds is so super high. And I'm really nervous about that. But at least I'll have the memory, So much better than plastics now. Feels so good, said the smoker. It's a really long end. Or maybe it's one of those rows where I had done it one way and then I had to frog it, but I didn't end up needing as much yarn as I started thinking I did. So just going down the line, checking everything. Literally dotting on my eyes. So making sure it's melted enough. Okay, and there's these 2 ends. These 2 ends. This one's not melted. That one's melted. That one's melted. Okay, now we're gonna go do the other side and see if everything is melted there. Done, 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 done. Towards the end, I was like, I really don't need any end at all. It can be so super short, and it's like an inch long. So hopefully that, you know, is secure. But I did so instead of sewing in the last stitch where the color alternates, I sewed in the last double crochet, which is why some of the dimensions are a little. That's part of the reason why I got a little confused about the dimensions, if I'm being honest. It's not the only reason, but it happened. Let's pull this up right here so you can see a little bit better. Okay, and this one looks good, but I'm just going to give it a little bit more to be consistent. Now the pink is still attached, and we'll have to see because at one point the pink looked too short. Now it's looking a little too long, so that's why I kind of haven't really done anything with that. Now we have all of these insides that need to attach. Now I'm going to tie them in knots. I'm going to make sure I'm not changing the tension on the fabric it's attached to because I don't want the fabric to warp, but I do want these knots to stay and not get pulled if like the text accidentally gets tugged on or something. So to me, it's really important that they have something to to get tied to, and even if that's themselves. Also, this is a good time to note if any ends aren't, you know, um, burned enough. I feel like I almost should. It's hard because I want to like line the back, and I talked about maybe doing like fabric tack on it. But then I also feel like the same could be said about the other side. I mean, the it's much different. It's much sturdier because of the mosaic design. However, like there's still like a bunch of exposed pieces. I mean, far less than this side, but I feel like just sewing something to it would be helpful. However, this yarn is not going to go through my sewing machine. I got a very cheap sewing machine here. I haven't even tried it yet, but this is so thick that even one layer of it, I really doubt would go through it. That and then and then I okay, so I was gonna wait until I got an 18-inch pillow insert to sew um to sew or to I was gonna get that in North Carolina and so I wouldn't have to carry it with me um through like the airport and all that stuff. Even though I'm not going with a lot of stuff, I am going with a lot of I'm going with some luggage to carry stuff back. So it wouldn't be the worst thing to have. And then if there were like a pillowcase that were if I did a pillowcase and I sewed that and then kind of hands attached it to the inside of the the crocheted pillow. So there's like ultimately three layers. There's the outside that's crocheted. There's the middle part of the sandwich that covers all the stitches so that you can slide the insert inside and out. And that the only attachment points are probably like the bottom and like the corner. And then um and then the pillow insert, which would only make contact with that little inside that I put. That's something to think about. I don't know if I have any fabric. I wonder if I can reach out to the place where I was living because they always had a bunch of extra clothing, and I wonder if they have some extra like cotton t-shirts that I can rip up for that because that would be helpful so I wouldn't have to sew up anything, or I wouldn't have to go buy anything. It's more so what I'm trying to say. Okay, so this is 3 pieces right here, so I'm gonna like tie 2 together and then tie the third together on top of that. So I hope these knots stay. Really, all they have to do is support the slip stitches of the letters, but we will see. If letters start ripping out, they can just start cutting out the letters, and this is still a functional pillow. I mean, if I put the fabric tack on it, then not really. But if I don't put the fabric tack on it, I don't have any fabric tack with me. I could put daubs of hot glue. I could use my hot glue gun without hot glue and just manually melt the knots. So that's an option. Feel free to chime in, and if at any point you have a better idea, because I'm just kind of making shit up, which is pretty usual for me. So again, I'm going in, making sure all of the knots have been properly melted, so um, they won't fray that way. And then wait, what is today? It's the 27th. Oh well, I didn't need. That's not the night I needed, anyways. Okay, so now we're up to here. So we've got these 4 for these 2. They're both melted. And I really did try to think ahead of like how I was going to tie everything together. But yeah, there's so much of this like string going on here that it makes me really nervous. That it'd be really difficult to get the pillowcase in, and then also if when it's washed, these are exposed. So I think rather than fabric tack, if having that pillowcase that I could sew, that would be easier. And then I can sew the zipper onto that. It would be kind of like a twofold thing where I would sew the fabric a little further down than the crochet part itself, and then I sew the zipper onto that. That would be a lot easier. Also, can I just mention that I really hate putting zippers on? So I'm really bad at it. So if we get to the point of the process where you actually do see that, please leave your judgment at the door because it's not my forte. Sewing in general isn't my forte, but that's really not something that I'm just going to all of my sewing journey has been just winging it. This is through one of the slip stitches, so just removing that. Okay, so I'm gonna fold this, make sure there's nothing just like pop out. Okay, and now we're on to the third line. Okay, so that and that. So there's 3 pieces coming together. Take a little caffeine and nicotine, right? Caffeine, 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 caffeine. And now, if I wanted to find a fabric place, I know the Joanne near me might be open still, but they had last time I went, which was a while ago. Also, I might get distracted by it. And by might, I mean I definitely will. If they have any yarn, I'll get distracted by it. And I'll be like, but they're not going to have it anymore. And I'll be more likely to buy it. But they had like a 2-yard minimum, and I don't need that much yarn. I mean, not yarn, fabric. I mean, it wouldn't be bad to have some like black or white cotton. You know, those things aren't ever going to be like bad to have. But I have fabric. Well, I had fabric in North Carolina, but that's after the wedding. I mean, I'm getting in right at the time of the wedding, so it's not going to be ideal for that, unless, I mean, I can give this to them after, which I'm probably going to give it to them like the next day, but because I'm not going to wrap this thing, and finding a bag big enough for this is going to be annoying, so probably not going to do that. I'm just going to be like, here's a pillow. maybe there'll be a box around that I can put it in and wrap, but it's a big pillow, so it's a big pillow to gift. It was meant to be just like a small throw pillow, but just due to using really thick yarn and also needing enough space to make it legible, it became big real fast. Can you imagine if I used like the recommended 8 or like the 9mm that I have? I don't think it would have looked nearly as good, but this is with the 6.5, so it would have definitely increased in size. This one doesn't feel melted enough, so I just gonna do a courtesy burn. The same with this one. So does anyone have any exciting plans for today or anything? I think for me, it's going to be, oh yeah, there was this piece with the knot. And I was like, I guess I'll just help it with not coming off, but I've got to melt all the ends because any one of them could cause some issues. Probably should burn the knot too, being honest. Just to melt those pieces together. That can slip out. Okay. It's a little warm, but I'm just gonna deal with it. I hope that they haven't. So at the place I was living, we would get a lot of people donating clothes and like different items, book bags, things like that. It was very, very sweet. And then basically the house would pick through them, and anything that was left over we would build up a donations pile, and anything that was left over we would ultimately donate to like the LA LGBTQ Center or another LA based queer shelter or something to that effect. It kind of depended on just kind of who knew who in the not who knew who, but like more rather like who knew where they would, like the house manager, where they would have time to go, in their kind of daily routine. So I'm not sure where exactly it is now because there's a new house manager from when I was there. So, but yeah, there was always like a lot of, quite a bit of charity clothing that didn't fit anyone. And so we keep it for a little while, just, if new people came in or something and they didn't have any clothes, which, some people like were coming directly off the street. And like, so having clothing for them was obviously a priority. They could, pick through and hopefully find some things. Or if they wanted to try some different things with gender expression that they weren't able to try in other places safely, they could try it there, which I always really loved and respected about the program. Is like if you want to try something different and look different or express yourself however you want, like you could do it there freely. And so I felt that I really like that part. I still really like that part about them. But we'd get to a point where we'd have just this huge bin just piled high with clothes, and then it'd be like, okay, it's time to donate. So it's kind of like you got to hit it when it's like before it's time to donate. Okay, so all of this is done. And now I want to kind of see the length, based on the length of this, how it is. So I'm going to kind of roll the top a little bit so it's more even, because it's been a little bit uneven. And then it looks like the pink actually kind of overran but you can line it up just fine. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the pink connected just for whatever comes next. However, the light pink connected because I could cut it off and then sew it onto something later, which I would just have the yarn to do. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not. Like, let's just make it easier on ourselves so that if, I know I can do it if I need to, but I don't have to. So I cut this slightly longer tail. I'm going to burn the end on the remaining yarn. And then I'm going to pull through on this slip stitch right here at the end and keep that a little burny. Okie dokie. So I feel like this pillow has turned out really nice. It's very huge, and that's not something I expected. My measurements were off. However, that's okay because it ended up turning out to be a great pillow, and I'm happy with how that turned out. I think I might even have some clothes that I got from them that I could turn into a pillowcase. So I guess with all that being said, like basically mine would be a I can make a pocket pillowcase so that although this still doesn't help with the zipper situation, does it? Well, I can make a pocket pillowcase, have the zipper in it, and still have that flap that goes over so it would protect the zipper from being caught on anything. And then when they're ready to wash it, they could, if they did wash it, they could take it out. Honestly, I mean, there's no reason to take it out if you're washing things. This is gonna be a hand wash thing anyways. Yeah, okay, so that's kind of where I'm gonna stop with this. I think my next steps for this are texting some folks in the house, seeing what's available, what they can get me, and looking at what I have for an inside lining for this to protect the inside bits from becoming potential issues. Let's go back to the top. Might as well use a little energy while I got it. I'd like to text my friends, but I'm using my phone to record this. So later, there's so much going on right here. It's a little overwhelming, but we can do this. So, I didn't mean to get this plastic. I just wanted the metal one. I like the metal ones with metal darning needles with wider eyes and slightly bent tips. I find that they're just easier to move around. I don't like plastic ones. And these aren't sharp, but they come to a slate point. And I just ordered some. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. So, yeah, that was a semi spam call. I don't even know what to call them anymore. They're getting ridiculous. They've been ridiculous for months, but just the whole process of once you list your like services online as a business, they're like, "Hey, what you don't have everything on your website, or you need a website. You can't just use Yelp." And when I first started, I didn't know that Yelp was super expensive. Which yeah, Yelp is super expensive to list your shit on. It's not free, which is in my opinion, professional bullshit. It's insanely expensive, and it also varies depending on how many hits you get on your website. So that's cool. But they're like, well, it worked really well for you, so you know you might get no people that actually booked you, but if a lot of people looked at you, it's still a problem. So, anywho, um, but yeah, I've got like some of them like that person like I was like, hey, I was like, who is this? And they're like, we're from the voice department. Like the voice department of fucking what? Like, what are you talking about? And they were like, it looks like you haven't, you know, set something up or done something and or like whatever. Are you the owner of the business? And they just say the business, so it's vague and sounds insanely spammy, right? And then at this point, I've just gotten to saying like no because leave me alone. I've already told you to stop calling me. Leave me the hell alone. And so usually I just get them hanging up on me. Actually, that's pretty much exclusively what happens these days. But they're just the rudest motherfuckers. But they have North Carolina phone numbers, or they're saying they do. So I'm like, when I get a North Carolina phone call, that kind of stands out because I'm getting less and less of those every day, if you can believe it. So to me, one thing I'm doing, so right now I am securing kind of the edges of um, the casing around my boning that I've made. And I made it based off a suggestion on Google, and I kind of made my own spin on it that I'm really happy with. So I'll try to make a video on it very soon. I think that there are other ways that you can do it. However, for me, I'm really super happy with how this has turned out. Um, but right now, I need to make sure this is sewn in really well and then try to have my ends as good as I possibly can because that's always a little bitch for me. Like, am I doing okay? I don't know. I feel like my ends always pop, and I've tried all the methods. The one thing I really hoped would help would be the fabric tack from TL Yarn Craft's mom. But and it probably would work really well on this because it's cotton, but because I use a lot of acrylic, it wasn't binding to the acrylic. And so I didn't feel like it was attaching any of the ends more than they would normally attach, and so I stopped using that method. But I've heard a lot of people have continued to use it and like it a lot. So and this part isn't as much for security. This this specific part that I'm sewing, it's more for kind of making the fold look more seamless in the casing. So if you're doing the casing on the end, the casing part that you sew just needs to be twice the width of whatever boning you're using, so that you can sew it in there. If you are doing a pleat like this, where basically what I did is you take the end of the pleat and you fold it like this, so it's actually needs to be 3 times the length of what you're going to stuff into one of the pockets. You technically could put 2 pieces of casing in there if you wanted to, but I don't see why you would do that. Um, so uh, but you need 3 pieces because you can see that there's a fold there that I sewed to be a little bit more flat so it would lie comfortably to the skin. And then this one's a little bit more flat so that appearance wise it will look um, like part of the rest of the gang, I suppose. Uh, but there'll be other stuff on top. So I've been thinking, kind of like when I'm like in between things and whatnot, you know, obviously I have to finish these tops, and I want to make Pride stuff, but I also need to work on my Alzheimer's blanket because the Alzheimer's charity is coming up. It's a little nerve wracking to have, only like 2 confirmed items for the auction. But I'm just hoping that things shake out well in the end and we get some just good participation, some good vibes into the into the project because that's something that I'm really passionate about. And I know that there's so many different things going on in the month of June that everyone's just doing their best. And, with the cost of literally just existing, it's just growing so much higher. Um, I know that that auctions are a really, really tough thing to do. Um, so, who knows? Like, it might end up being a giveaway. But I need to work on that blanket because it's kind of like baby blanket size, and that's not a problem, like ultimately. But if I can get it to a bigger size where it's like adult size, that's my dream in how it plays out. So so and then I know Helix said that they would donate a yarn cake, which sounds very beautiful. So if we can, you know, if that happens, that'll be super, super awesome. I love when, you know, I love when people donate finished items, obviously, but as crafters, a lot of us, we, there's less incentive for us to buy finished items, right? But yarns, like crocheting supplies, yarn supplies, whatever, like all of those are extra exciting because then you can run off and do whatever you want with it, right? So to me, those are kind of the more exciting little prizes you can get. So here I don't. This one doesn't look as smooth as the other, but it's not so bad that I feel like I need to go and reinforce anything. I feel like everything looks good. I have a couple places where I ran out of yarn, and I need to kind of make sure that those ends are stuck in. And I kind of made a little bit of a boo boo because when I cut the band off the side to change colors, I all of the ends that I've sewed down to make sure it looked okay. I did that on the inside where it might be a little bit more, well, it makes contact with the skin. Whereas I would have preferred it be on the outside, so it'd be covered by the the tassels and not impact the skin at all. but it just kind of is how it worked out, and I'm hoping that we have some nice security on where we need it. I spend a lot of time really nitpicking, like design elements like this because I just want it to structurally be a good top that lasts. And I just know that when someone is larger chested, the the strain that is put on the garment is higher. Um, and even if not, like you still want to make sure things are covered, right? If you're wearing it, typically, that's how it has gone in my experience. Okay, that's the last one to go in. So I'm going to try to make this a little neater so it's not as abrasive on the skin. So I'm really kind of meticulous about these details because I want the wearer to have the ultimate experience in comfort and security and all of that. Like that's really important to me. So I'll just kind of keep going back and forth when I probably would have chilled, out and been a little bit more kind of relaxed if I thought it was not as big of a deal. There's some things where I'm like, yeah, it's good enough. Other things I'm like, that's definitely not good enough. We gotta change some stuff up. Okay, so that looks like it'll lay down a little bit more flat. I go to the other side and just hide this yarn a little bit. And then we'll get to the top stitching so that we can finish this one up and be on to the next officially. Now, I was working on I was working on the, the two cups of each one together, just to get them done faster. And I do feel like that did help me quite a ways. But then I was like, I really need to focus on one, the pillow, and then two, just focus on making the first one. So I feel like I've sewn in the end enough. It's gonna give it a slight pull, not a huge crazy one because it's gonna pop out somewhere else. Okay, so the strap looks like this. There is the casing right here. Maybe you can see where it's a little bit wider. So right here and right here, this is where the lacing will go in. So the lacing will come in here and in here. They might be a little twisted, but whatever. So lacing will be like that. And I think I'm gonna try doing an I-cord braid because I have my I-cord tool and I want to give it a try. Because I think that'll be super secure. Um, and but I don't want to try it on live. I need to watch a video on how to use that tool again. It basically has three latch hooks and it's kind of on a little stick. So you have your stick and then you have like three latch hooks on it, like a little trident. And I I don't quite remember how to begin. I think I know how to keep going, and I think it's a lot like a knitting machine. But for this one, I think we're in a good spot to call it a day, or at least, for the time being. Okay, so I'm going to put some yarn away, or just drag it around. Oh, I could do the top stitching now. No, and for me, I'm just gonna move on for a second, for a little second. Okay, so I'm on the yellow part of the top. I finished one cup of the yellow with the yellow, and then the next cup is ready for the yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and join my yarn. Now I think I thought I had the middle of this, but oh yeah, there we go. I took this tab off because the other one, the other little baby that needed a tag did not have one. This is not quite enough, probably enough to go around twice, right? Just want to hold this yarn together a little bit more so that's not just well now. See, put a little bow on your yarn. It's super effective and totally there's a reason why to do it. If you are crocheting or crafting or making plans for the day or doing anything, what's up? What are you doing? What's your plan for today? I went on super early. So yesterday my live, I thought it was at 6 p.m. It was actually I had scheduled it at 4, but I was also feeling pretty depressed. So I was going to kind of cancel at short notice, like 5:30, and then I looked and I was like, oh, I already missed it. Oops. So if you were expecting me to be on yesterday and I missed you, I do apologize. I know I've been kind of changing the times up a little bit. While I get my apology tour, I'm gonna refill my stitch markers because I used a lot for the pillow. But I don't like to schedule things and not show up to them, so I do apologize for that. I just I didn't even realize it. I was kind of out of it. And then again, I was going to cancel it. I was going to say something in the on my whatchamacallit, but I ended up not even having the right time. So oops and oops. So you know, hopefully you understand and are cool with that. If you're annoyed, I understand and apologize, but I'm just doing my best. And sometimes that kind of a little depressive, you know, rundown energy part of your brain just speaks up. I've been meaning to do a video on kind of a little. It's like it's mental health focused for sure, but mostly talking about like burnout and things that a lot of YouTubers experience. And then I also wanted to kind of talk about it from the viewer side and ways that a viewer can help in certain situations in ways that actually, may like inadvertently make things a little bit harder um, when someone's experiencing burnout. Because I don't think a lot of people come in with like malicious intent when they're saying things to someone who's expressing that they're burnout and need some time. But sometimes it like your depressed brain hears it differently, and I just kind of want to offer that perspective while not like I'm not calling anyone out. I'm not saying anyone's bad. I think people often do it with the best intentions, but I think sometimes it's just like, just like you know. Sometimes I don't think it comes off how people mean it, or maybe they did mean it that way, and I don't know. So I was gonna make a little video on that. And May is Mental Health Month, although I am committed to talking about mental health throughout the year, as it is something that I struggle with throughout the year, every year. Um, but I'm also not doing too great myself right now, so it's kind of super hella ironic that I would be like, let me make some mental health videos while I'm not doing great. But sometimes that's the best thing that you can do. And especially like for me, like I had some burnout like time, within the past month, month and a half. So I keep kicking the table. Um, and I wasn't really listening to my body like I needed to, and I feel like in that time, I was having burnout in other situations, but also in the space of like making videos, trying to do as much as I could, all of this stuff. And I think that, me not acknowledging it definitely did more harm than good. So I think I want to do a little uh, video on it, and it might seem silly, it might seem kind of overstated if you've kind of seen and heard other people talk about burnout. And, if that's the case, like you don't have to watch it, never forcing anyone to watch any of my stuff. I mean, that's like Clockwork Orange type behavior, which I don't. I'm not gonna do that to anyone. I'm not gonna hold your eyes open and make you watch and listen to uh, what I have to say. But I think that there's a lot of people who struggle with more mental health problems, either um, either than we realize, or maybe they're saying it, but it's said in a way that we're not necessarily correlating to mental health struggles, because maybe they're not even identifying that they're mental health struggles. They're just feeling like shit and can't quite put the finger on it, but trying to get through it. And that's the you know kind of the tricky thing about mental health. And just realizing how prevalent issues with mental health are. I think that, you know, 10, 15 years ago, like we were talking about mental health in an entirely different way than we talk about it now. And I still see some, uh, again, well meaning, but maybe slightly, um, I don't even want to say like outdated, but just like think there's room for opportunity for us to grow and support each other and learn how to I can offer my opinion of what might be the best, but you can always the thing is you can always ask people. People don't have to respond, like that's the thing. If they're like, they don't want to respond, they don't have to. But if you're like, hey, like this really sucks, how can I best, you know, help you? I think that that gesture alone is very kind. But anywho, so maybe I'll do that video. I don't think I'll have time to do any makeup videos this week just because the mess it makes and cleaning it up and making my space presentable for cat sitting. So unfortunately I don't think I'll really have time for any of that. I probably maybe I'll do like what I'm packing in my bag. But I think that that's it. One of the uh one of the things I need to see if my mom can get is one of the she can go to the mall and pick me up one of the like aerosol um setting like fixing mist because it's only available at Sephora. I guess you can order it online. Don't think it would be there in time. Uh I can look and see today if it would be there by Friday, but that's like really pushing it. Um, and then I also need the pillow form, which I can uh, see if someone can just pick up from a local Walmart, or I just get it after the wedding and put the pillow form in it. Either way, that's not. I was like worrying more about it before, and now I'm like, you know what? They're gonna get the pillow while I'm there, so they're gonna be smothered with family. I think we're gonna be okay if I like sneak out for a bit and get a pillow for them. Although they might not be there for as long, just to have some privacy, after the wedding. Who knows? I'm not quite sure their agenda. So yeah, I'm just working on this good little forward, just so I can have some better posture. So I ordered a little mini bag game and it got stolen. Why just 3 things in now 3 weeks? And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It's so annoying. Um, and I know I have options for sending packages, but there's also like everything comes with complications. So I'm just like, I just don't know what to do. Just wish things were easier, but I'll figure it out. Scotty would not like that vacuum. Scotty probably sold it, and fucking got rid of it. Because it'd be scary for him, a little scaredy cat. I'm just gonna assume it's Scotty. But yeah, my friend, gave me a compliment on my place. He's the first person to actually see my place, and I've been here since the end of March. So it was pretty cool to have him be like, "Oh, you've got a nice place here." Like that felt really nice. And even though like I hadn't cleaned up everything like to a T, which it's just not going to be my style ever. Even if I wanted to and tried to, but I cleaned up a lot. Like I cleaned up a ton because just kind of the situation, and it looked so much better. And he was like, he liked it a lot. So we will see how that goes. uh, and hopefully everything will be good. And I'm gonna have to get to the airport super early on Friday morning. I think that I've got to get to the place where I'm parking my car around uh, around like 3 a.m. so that I can take public transit up to the airport. It's about like 2 hours there, and then and I'll have all my bags and shit, and then getting through security and stuff, and trying to make sure everything's on time. Like I'd rather be super early than late, and there's far less uh, you know buses and trains running that early, so you got to make sure you kind of hit the sweet spot or earlier, or you missed your train for the next 45 minutes or whatever the timing space says. So, trying to plan ahead and not be like an anxious mess about the whole thing. Um, and then I think I'm going to reach out to, I don't, you know, we're not, we don't have to be secret about it. I just guess I never really know how to talk about it because I don't want to bring up more questions or have like I don't like if you're I don't really want it to spring on more conversation when it's just something that I do um and I have a space for it that I can express my needs there, but I guess just to kind of like get to it and stop being around the bush. I've talked about being in a 12-step group before, so I'm in a group called Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families. And I say that not as a like, um, you know, as not as anything other than to say I'm in a group of supportive people who, you know, that, uh, you know, certain experiences growing up kind of um, were distinctive for people who are in the group. And so I'm planning to, try to set up some kind of regular, they call it outreach when you, uh, you know, talk to someone, you need some additional support or, you either need to vent or you need, some advice or you just kind of need a little bit of something from you know, the group, but there's not an active group there's not like a group right then and then you can share stuff with. So I'm gonna kind of plan and for having that, I'm gonna do some today and then I'm gonna see if anyone's kind of willing to just kind of like touch base with me daily because I feel like this is gonna be going back to North Carolina is a lot of mixed feelings for me and I know a lot of people are asking about it and stuff like that. And I don't mean to be like cloak and dagger or whatever about it. It's just a different experience. This is my first time back on the East Coast, back in North Carolina, back in my hometown since October, and on I didn't leave in a good place by any means. And for me to go back is complicated. Um, and the thing is, like, I'm doing it because I love my sister. I care about my sister. And other reasons too, but the main reason being that like I don't think there's much that would make on this planet that would make me miss my sister's wedding. Um, And uh, so I'm going back, and that's kind of something that I'm thinking about. So I'm planning on doing things that help nurture my own mental health in this time, and trying to plan ahead for times that I know aren't going to be easy necessarily for me. At the same time, if you go into a situation expecting bad things to happen, like oftentimes bad things will happen, you know? So there's also the trade off of like, okay, well, I need to pay attention, but I need to also like kind of go in, it's like they say when you go, like, if you know a car crash is coming and you tense up, you're like more likely to get hurt. So if you like if you like are like a little loose, you get less hurt in the car crash. I feel like that's kind of my approach to this. Is like I'm gonna be prepared, but I'm not gonna be like clenching so tight that I can't experience any of the good parts of the wedding, because there undoubtedly will be good parts of the wedding. My, um, this is gonna be a good day for my sister. Um, I can only hope, and I just, need to make sure that I focus on that, and also taking care of myself and doing what I got to do. So that's the plan, and yeah, I know I when I'll be like, oh, I'm going to a meeting, or I did a meeting, or I am in a 12-step group, and so like when I say stuff like that, that's what I'm talking about. I know there's a million 12-step groups, uh, great for all different types of people facing all different types of issues, but this is one for me that I'm finding particularly helpful and healing for me. So can't be can't express enough gratitude for people in those walls, or in those spaces, or on Zoom, or however I do it, because they're people who are really devoted to getting better themselves and helping other people find ways that they can feel better too, and it's been really nice. So um, took me a while to get there, but the fact that I'm there is something that I try not to take for granted. I'll cut the yellow. So I did 3 rows of the yellow. So with this particular size, you do 3 rows of every color except for the purple and the red, and those get 4 rows. And then the red is kind of, I do differently based because of how I do my straps. So I'm going to put the yellow back. And grab my orange. Throw it back to a super saver color. Get to not have impeccable for a little bit, which is both good and bad, Less splitting for sure, but also a rougher yarn. I also find that when I order yarn online and they pick it up from the store for me, especially like specifically Super Saver, but I have had the experience with other yarns. I always find that I get like the scratchiest yarn, and like the yarn that I like I've been in store and like touched like a lot of these yarns. I've touched Super Saver a million times, but why do whenever I order like Super Saver from Walmart Plus, they pick out the one that feels like it's made out of like that it's just like covered in like dried glue or something like that. It's not uh it's really luck of the draw, but usually it doesn't land in my favor. So, but that's okay. This one's not too bad. I wanted to do for this one. I wanted to use this color to do a mosaic picture. I have an alpha pattern for it that I really, really am obsessed with, but I haven't had a chance to do it yet. And other projects push their way to the front real fast. But a wall hanging of what I want is with this could be super cool. So I'm hoping that I get to do that soon. And I don't think I was planning on doing mosaic. I think I was just planning on doing like a typical um typical tapestry because it's too much for my tiny brain to do mosaic on that level of work, and also the color changes. I don't even know how to do that. I'm so beginner at mosaic. It's crazy. Um, but we can learn somewhere, sometime, right? You can hear the rumbling of a truck. Somebody has started their truck in the driveway between my building and the next building, and I'm on the side right between the two, so I can hear it, but I don't know how well the mic's picking it up. I feel like I've been on here a lot longer than 2.5 hours, but maybe that's just because I'm finishing some whips and getting shit done. I don't know. I feel like yeah, I'm almost done with the top. I'm almost done with the pillow. Making really good progress on this top because this top has the orange, the pink, and the red left, and the straps, and whatnot. Now that I figured out the casing and all of that stuff, and I feel like so much better. I feel so like confident in it. I really hope that this is it it laces up and looks as good as I hope and expect it to. Also, I really want to try out my I-cord maker today. I like to use like a non-scratchy yarn. I was gonna use the red because that's what goes around the neck, but that is the impeccable, and it's not very soft. So I'm not quite sure. I do have some rainbow yarn that's a little bit like my rainbow variegated Mexicana or Mexicana yarn, which is not the softest, but it is rainbow, and that's pretty. So at least it would be pretty to have that back there. So yeah, because I have quite a few things to do, and this is a pretty slow morning because I don't really do much in the morning typically. So it's actually not surprising that there's not a huge, crazy turnout of people during this live, which is okay. If you're here, I'm so thankful you're here. If you didn't make the live because it's at an unusual time for both you and me, that's okay too. I might go on later. I had said that Tuesdays would be my days off, but we're already seeing that my patterns and what I expect of when I'm going to come on are not usually happening. So it really just depends on my schedule today. But I don't have anything, or it depends on what I can get done today. I don't have any definite plans of going live, but I do have some plans of, calling people and getting stuff straightened out and blah, 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 adult stuff that sounds more interesting than it is, I promise. So yeah, I'm gonna let you go. I did my first row of orange on this cup, and then we'll continue, and then hopefully I can finish. Now that I'm mostly done with the setup of the with the pillow, because that one took up so much room on this table of having to turn. If I don't have to turn the pillow, I might be able to figure out a situation where you can see me with the laptop, but you can also see the project. And that would be cool. And hopefully we can do that without like a ton of like feedback, because that shit sucks. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna let you go, but thank you for hanging out with me, and I will see you in like maybe later today, maybe not, but I hope you have a great day, and I appreciate you all just being around and listening to me, because even on my bad days, like, you all make it better, and I promise that that's a true statement for me. So thank you so much, and I will talk to you later. Bye.